The Blenheim was one of the first British aircraft with an all-metal stress-skin construction, retractable landing gear flaps, a powered gun turret, and variable pitch propellers. The Mk1 was faster than most fighters in the late 1930s, but the advance in development of monoplane fighters made all bombers more vulnerable, particularly flown in daylight, though it proved successful as a night fighter. The Blenheim was effective as a bomber, but many were shot down. Both Blenheim types were used by overseas operators, being license-built in Yugoslavia and Finland. Now, the subject of this build and of this unboxing is the Blenheim by 62 Squadron. 62 Squadron was posted to Singapore in August 1935 and moved to Alor Star in northern Malaya in February 1940. Japan invaded Malaya on 8th of December 1941 and the squadron was evacuated to Butterworth on 9th of December. Later that day, an attack on Singora airfield was planned, but Butterworth was attacked by Japanese aircraft when the British force was preparing to take off, with only one Blenheim, piloted by Squadron Leader Arthur Scarf of 62 Squadron, getting away. Carrying out a single-handed attack on Singora, his Blenheim was heavily damaged by Japanese fighters and anti-aircraft fire, badly injuring Scarf. Despite his injuries, he managed to make a forced landing at Alor Star, saving the rest of his crew. He died in hospital that evening. Scarf was eventually posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross for his actions that day, and all of this is courtesy of Wikipedia. So the unboxing is going to cover the Airfix Mk1 kit, and after this there will be a build video as well. So this is the unboxing video for the Airfix Bristol Blenheim for the Saturday night scale modelling crash Pacific Theatre group build. So I'm going to run through what comes in this kit. So firstly, it's for the Pacific Theatre group build because the British aircraft represented in this kit saw service in Malaya. So first we're going to take a look at the instructions. This is a nicely presented practically instruction book manual. Computer generated instructions, as you can see. You know, plenty of people have commented on the quality of the latest Airfix videos, and I think that's of the latest Airfix instructions, and that's pretty fair, to be honest with you. They are good. They do make the effort to be clear about the stages and clear about the build progression. And you know, they are certainly serve their function very well in that respect. Clear, pretty easy to follow, with decent colour callouts as well for the humble colours that can be cross-referenced. And I do quite like the fact that they have sort of broken down the steps into quite small steps. You're not having everything thrown at you at the same time and trying to work that out. So some real thought has gone into this. Fundamentally, this is actually a well-written process document. Honestly, I wish that process documents in the real aircraft industry were often written this well and presented this clearly. This is very nicely done. So it takes you through the steps. You've got you're bringing the rear halves of the fuselage together quite early, which I think gives you a sense of achievement. I like the presence of a wing spar. That will make a difference, I believe, to how this holds together. Weighted wheels is always nice to see. The wheels up option early on. And and a busy cockpit. One thing I don't particularly like about this kit is they give you a pilot figure, all very nice, but no other figures. The Blenheim had a crew of 3. Where's the other crew? So if you're going to put this on a flying stand and you've only got the pilot in it, and especially no gunner, who would be actually quite obvious that you need somebody in that turret, that seems to me to be a bit lacking. But yeah, if you're going to include a pilot figure, include a couple more, not just include the necessary crew as well. Something that would have been nice is the pilot ingress point was through a sliding hatch in the canopy there, and that doesn't give you the option to display that open, nor does it give you the option to display the mid-upper gunner's hatch open as well, which I think is a little bit of a shortcoming, but that in particular would be, I feel, is lacking. Plenty going on though. I like the ordnance options, and as I said before, I do like the clarity of it, and it's nice to see that you can clearly see what position, as in here, what position the open bomb bay doors are meant to be in. The engines are nicely done. Single bank radial, but they've included the exhaust and plumbing tubing, which is a very nice touch. That really gives an engine some sense of depth and helps it come to life. I notice they have given some thought to no, you can only have the cooling louvres in, looks like in the closed position here. I think you've only got the one option, which is a little bit unfortunate, but no, it does give you the options. You can present them in 2 formats. Okay, fair enough, I believe. And it's nice to see that the brass cowling front face is separate, so that can be painted separately in the metallics. Again, another nice touch. Turret construction, you got the 2 options there for the 2 profiles of turret, which I like. A gunner would have been nice, but I realised doing a decent gunner figure. What's particularly good is that this goes in towards the end, so you can build your whole model, then pop the turret in place, which is good. But you're going to have to make sure to paint the fuselage inside there. Maybe even add some internal detailing if there's no ribbing visible. So 2 colour schemes. This is the one I'm going to be doing. Fairly straightforward RAF camouflage colour scheme with a black underside, early war, and the second one is for the Romanian Air Force. I must admit I do like that scheme, but no, this is what we'll be doing for this particular build. So let's take a look at the components. So we'll look at the decal. Okay, the decals are here. So decals, fairly nicely printed, very little carrier film, or carrier film's been kept to a minimum, which is nice, particularly around the roundels. I can't see those presenting any particular issues. Having the aircraft name printed on the decals also is nice, that you can put that, if you do a display base, as I'm doing with this, that you can actually put a small, effectively, name label or description label on the edge of your display base. So that's nice to see, as is a mention of the squadron as well. So that helps that's useful, I think, for display purposes. So these decals, they've not gone overboard with the stenciling. I can't see these presenting any issues. I'll go through the sprues. So main wing sprue and forward fuselage. Again, recessed panel lines, as you can expect, quite finely recessed. The soft blue-grey Airfix plastic, and you can see there where the control surfaces are fabric that they've actually allowed for a little bit more dimpling on that surface. That's worthwhile. That's worth noting. So those the elevator control surfaces were fabric covered, and they've allowed for that, and you can see a bit more surface variation there. Yeah, I can't see anything. No flash. None would be expected on such a new mould. The fuselage halves, now of course with the Blenheim having had so many different variations and particularly significantly different loads, it's nice to see that they've done it, that really your entire forward fuselage is separate, and I think that it's a nice way to build it as well. The bomb bay included on the lower half of the wings. Spars. The engines, undercarriage, small munitions, the engine plumbing. And you do get, which is nice, two cowling options, open and closed. In flight, they would probably be in the open position to improve the airflow and cooling. On the ground, they'd be in the closed position, probably to reduce FOD ingress and contamination. Nice single bank radials. You could really, and the two turret ring options as well. So they are very much anticipating in this kit the different configurations. I do like that. I like the scope of the options. And the Vickers K guns. You're going to have, what I will say with this kit, you are going to end up with quite a few leftover pieces, which no harm in that. So the props, landing gear struts and other internal details. Again, I like this. As much as I enjoy A model kits and more challenging kits, when you do see something recent and made to a good standard, it does show out, and I do feel that is what you're getting with this one. So I'm anticipating this being an absolute pleasure to build. And people may only reserve shake and bake status for Tamiya, but honestly, this is heading towards it. I know I've heard there's some issues with the fit of the forward fuselage, but still, compared to a lot of the kits I build, this is heading towards shake and bake territory. So yes, very nice clean panel lines, and you can just go to town on this. And a nice balance on the details, and I believe you have the option for fabric and metal covered elevators. Looking at this, I may be wrong, but I think that's how they've approached it. Now the clear parts, I don't particularly want to unbag them yet. That's nice, they do come in a separate bag. Large portion of the nose is glazed, so a bit of time is going to have to be taken over the masking, and the turret as well. Very fine but quite pronounced frame line, so that's certainly doable, but you will need to take your time if you're going to be masking this by putting the tape over it and then cutting out around the tape. Well worth the effort though, I think. You are going to get some nice end results. Just take it steady. So build for that is going to start July 1st.